I don't know about my other pledges, but I've had a fascinating week. I was in New York to cover the presidential election, and I've had such a laugh. No, not at the incoming president's extraordinary hair. Bit jealous, Greg. Nor at Bill Clinton's outrageous suggestion his wife Hillary should triumph because, and I quote, it's her turn. No sense of elitist entitlement there, eh? Rather, it was the comment of a bleeding-heart American commentator who almost wept as she said, our nation has been betrayed. Excuse me, as they say over there, just as here in the UK, and with increasing force across parts of Europe, voters have turned their backs on snooty, careerist politicians whose only touchstone with normal people is when they fall over in front of them getting into a limousine. The liberal commentators who espouse their causes, and where is June Sarpong when you need her, are just as much in the dock. They're as out of touch as a linebacker in the Super Bowl, the wrong side of the sideline. The jury's out as to whether the US called it right this week, but let's celebrate the real people having their say. Oh, and please don't tell me the election I've just come back from was only an advisory.
Well, at least we've got finally an admission from Nick that the referendum result is up for grabs still. Hooray!
I hadn't thought of that when I wrote that.
I cannot go through the 7 stages of grief as I did over Brexit.
Right.
From denial through anger. America is rioting on the streets.
No, that's just ridiculous.
Hundreds of people, they're rioting outside the US embassy.
They're not.
The dreary filmmaker Michael Moore said the UK voted to leave Europe. America has voted to leave America.
And what does he mean?
Now, he has a point there.
Tell me what you mean.
Well, because it's America first. It's about America on its own. We're going to have a border. We're going to have a wall.
You just don't get it. You just don't
I
get
do
it.
get it. I do get it. The
there
more
are 50,
we criticise...
Can I tell you, this is the revenge of the deplorables.
Sure.
That's what Hillary Clinton called
I'm not denying
58 million people, who, for many of whom, they're not in work. Some of them are taking home less pay in real terms than they were in 1999. Not decades. 2 terms of Clinton have simply made it worse. They had 2 terms of Obama. It's made it worse. Why should they stick with a system that clearly hasn't helped them? They've had enough, and that's what they were doing.
I can see why they voted for Trump. I don't think we should dismiss them as a basket of deplorables. That was one of many huge mistakes that she made. But I pity them because I think they're going to be the losers here, and this is another comparison with Brexit. Just like the people who voted Brexit, who have real and legitimate senses of grievance and a sense that they're losing control of their lives and that things aren't working out for them. What Trump is offering them is not going to solve their problem. He's not addressing the real reasons why they've seen their incomes decline, why they've seen their jobs go, why American industry and manufacturing hasn't found anything viable to replace it. The idea that tariffs, mass deportations, building walls is somehow going to restore America to its form, it's a lie. And you say that, but what is he going to do that's going to fulfil the promises he's made to these people?
He'll have a virtual wall. He'll put lasers in or something like that. He's not going to physically build a wall. That's what he'll do. That's the way.
Nick, also, I mean, you always turn it back to some sort of liberal elite because that's your obsession.
Yeah,
actually,
I like to keep you involved.
What they're angry about, it's very nice of you, but what they're angry about is not the liberal elite. What they're angry about is the bankers. They're angry about the hedge fund managers. They're angry about the financial structure. But they're angry about the 20% who have done very well, while they, 80% I think of Americans, have not had a real increase over 10 years.
They're angry that they see someone such as Bill Clinton, since he's left office, has amassed $151 million. Now, that may be what he's worth. Perhaps he's worth double. I've no idea. But these are people living in a trailer park in North Carolina who can't even afford to run their Chevy truck. Don't be surprised they've had enough.
No, you can see they've had enough, as you saw here. You know, if you went to Burnley or Hull or anywhere else, in Brexit, exactly the same. It's people saying, we've suffered and you haven't, which is exactly true. What no one has got is the solution to that. Now, Trump's solution to that is barriers, trade barriers, you build up Fortress America. You spend a lot of money on infrastructure, which is, FDR all over again. Yeah. All of which conceivably could work, but probably a disaster. What it certainly means is those very same people will no longer buy shirts for £2, or they'll be paying X much more for their iPhones, for everything else, because that's the effect of it. I mean, the real truth is, you look at the big American success stories, the Nikes, the Apples, They don't make anything, or make very little in America. It's all made in China. Once you stop it being made in China, the price doubles.
How would it have been different under Hillary? under Hillary?
Oh, I don't think it would.
So it would have just been
No, this is. I don't think this comes down to the narrow the politics between. I mean, you can have a very strong argument against Trump for all sorts of other reasons, but I don't think we know what to do about a group of people who've got left behind. And in America, it's a very large group of people.
But for me, what I was really surprised about is how many people were completely surprised by the outcome. And so many people, and again you see it with Brexit, when you sit and you're on social media or traditional media, all you're seeing is again these people being called stupid, thick, racist, bigoted, and it's exactly, for me, it mirrors Brexit again. And the fact that so many people are so shocked is the problem for me, because they do not understand and connect with the people that are experiencing the lives that are different to them. And they sit and they are absolutely mortified. And the only conclusion that they can reach is, oh, it's those thickers over there. It's those thickers. I'm not like that. I'm better than them. And that, for me, is the problem. All the time that you have this massive divide, you will keep seeing it. We had it here. We've now got it in America. And it will continue in other places. France.
I think that's a simplification. I mean, like here, actually in America, more than half of people actually voted for Hillary. It's a deeply divided country. It's not that this is the vast majority and that this tiny elite don't understand them. People are really polarised. As strongly as people feel that Trump is going to solve all their problems, the other half of America feels like he is the end of the country that they know and love. You know, the alt-right movement, which is actually one of the groups that's triumphed out of Trump's election, this kind of alternative right that's kind of been bubbling away underground, you know, they say he's not an economic president. It's not about his policies. He's a cultural president. What he represents is the resurgence of the America that existed before the civil rights movement, that they'd like to see America return to a time before we had a multicultural country where we had the language of rights and respect for people. And that's what is so divisive. And I don't think that you can just write it off as people being out of touch with the needs of real Americans. America is divided down the middle. What you do about that, I don't know. But I can't see how a president making promises he can't keep is going to solve the problem.
But he represents change, doesn't he? A lot of people, when they're on the exit polls and stuff, they wanted change. They wanted anti-establishment, they wanted anti-elitism. And the irony is, of course, he's significantly wealthy. To a lot of people, he would be regarded as fairly elite in the lifestyle that he lives. But they don't care about that. They don't regard him in that respect. They just regard him as a change, and that's what they wanted.
And Nick, what will happen to Trump in 18 months when he hasn't managed to deliver anything, not even a tax cut? Let's say he hasn't got through a tax cut through Congress for those who are paid less than $25,000.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I don't know, but I thought to speak to Afwa's point, the reality is that two terms of Obama has not increased these people's lives. And there's a brilliant line, which I'm going to quote directly. I'm going to steal from Richard Littlejohn in the Mail today, which is, under Obama's presidency, they've talked more about which toilet a man should do than they have about an Iraq war. That has consumed. This president was completely unfocused, did nothing for those people. It is not surprising that they've taken the action that they have.
But you're assuming there are things you can do.
What's the point of having a president?
That's the point. Politicians promise things that they can't deliver always.
Well, let's hear a few words from the man himself. This was his acceptance speech back on Tuesday night.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. Have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people. Time. I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans, and this is so important to me.
And that, Afwa, speaks very much to the divided nation. I mean, no one can question his sentiments. Do you think it's attainable?
I think it's interesting talking about how disillusioned people are with the political class, that he felt he had to say one thing to get elected. Now that he's been elected, he seems to be rolling back on it, which is a relief to me. It was a relief to hear that, but I noticed that the audience was significantly less enthusiastic when he started talking about, let's thank Hillary. No, when they came on stage,
they still shouted, lock her up, didn't they?
They were saying, lock her up.
But also, if you watch that speech, the first half was clearly written by someone else and is on autocue.
Yes.
And the second half was a shambles of, let's have Bill up here, let's have John up here.
It's a beautiful thing.
I mean, it was
just him following autocue is a massive leap of progress.
Well, you could see it was autocue because you could see me something like that. I mean,
well, here's something to gladden your heart. I don't know if you've seen this image that is going around of Hillary Clinton signing a particular picture. This is the front cover of Newsweek magazine. And there we are. She's actually signing Madam President. Now, Newsweek, every election since I've worked there, always does 2 covers so they're ready to press. But you see, you're so happy now, aren't you? If that had only worked for you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a real shame.
Because?
I mean, but she's not Madam President.
Yeah, because, why?
How long have we got?
Go ahead.
Listen, she lost it because she talked about first world problems and gender and the glass ceiling, and he talked about jobs and immigration. And look, bingo. People cared about jobs and immigration. They don't care about the soft snowflakes.